Hi, welcome to Head Talk, the podcast where we talk about all the new cool features and innovations coming to the Hedera network. My name is Keith Cole, and I'm a product manager at Hashgraph. And I'm very honored today to be joined by Mark Blackman, who's the senior director of product management, also at Hashgraph. Welcome, Mark.
Oh, hey Keith, how you doing?
Very good. So today we have a special double header. We're going to be actually talking about two different releases in this conversation, release 60 and release 61. I was actually the release manager for 60 and Mark is the release manager for 61. So we're going to be running through some of the new features that were delivered in both of these releases and hopefully, talking through some of the cool innovations. So let's start with release 60. In release 60, the major improvement we brought to market was HIP 1021. This was kind of an interesting HIP where basically we were, I would say, improving some functionality around the Hedera consensus service. Previously, with Hedera consensus service, we do have something called the auto renew account ID. And previously, that had to be set after you had created a topic. You would need an admin key to set that, and that always wasn't the best probably fit because a lot of topics do not have admin keys. So with HIT 1021, now when we create a new topic, the auto renew account ID is automatically set to the account that created the topic. And so you don't have to have an admin key set to that topic, which just makes it a lot more flexible for a lot of different applications as we look to bring in more utility around the auto renew account ID. So that was the major innovation for release 60. And now let's chug along to release 61, of which I mentioned Mark was the release manager for. So Mark, maybe we could start with I think a really interesting feature, HIP 1064. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that, what it is, what it does.
Yeah, Keith. HIP 1064 is daily node rewards. This enables high-row network operators to incentivize availability and uptime of the nodes on the network. This is actually a feature in Hyro, as I just mentioned, but for Hedera, it will be enabled on June 30th and active on July 1st. So that is when this reward scheme will be put into place. And basically, it rewards nodes that on a daily basis are active and participating in consensus. And there's an algorithm and logic to measure that. And then, based on that criteria, uh, node rewards, or HBAR in this case, are distributed to those nodes that are up and operational.
So another HIP that was brought in was HIP 551 batch transactions. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about the implementation journey for this HIP?
Yeah. So, very powerful feature for developers, basically enabling many happy transactions to be executed in one network transaction. It is atomic in that all the transactions have to successfully execute. Otherwise, the batch job is canceled and none of the transactions are processed. So, as you can imagine, for developers, this is more efficient, but also can save costs. Um, However, late in the development cycle, this feature just did not meet our quality standards. So it is in the code, but it is disabled. And additionally, we've adjusted the throttles to not allow these transactions to even be processed on the network. The decision to use those throttles was to ensure developers aren't charged for submitting batch transactions while the feature is disabled. And so the behavior to be expected if a batch transaction is actually sent to the network, you will receive a busy signal, but again, will not be charged for that transaction.
And so, of course, we'll continue to work and improve the functionality enabled through HIP 551, and we'll look forward to that in a future release, which we'll be certainly covering in the HIP talks. So the last thing we want to talk about was that in release 61, as probably many of the viewers here know, we are, we're an EVM compliant network. We use Bizu, therefore we also have to, we keep up with a lot of the EVM versions, and the latest version was Cancun. Could you talk about some of the latest changes we've made around Cancun adherence?
Yeah. So there's really one specific change in this release, and that has to do with the self-destruct function. So what this function is actually is a smart contract can elect to remove itself and then pick a beneficiary address, which all remaining tokens and gas is sent to. And this was enabled pre Cancun both at the time of creation of the contract. So if the contract just is servicing one job and then needs to exit, that is upon creation. But also pre Cancun, you are allowed to do the self destruct function at any point. And it was really incentivize developers to kind of clean up code that's not needed and maintain state. However, there were a few issues, both with state management, reliability, and security. So in Cancun, they do allow this self-destruct function again at creation. So if it's a one-time run, that is still permitted. However, outside of that creation transaction, if you go to self-destruct, a flag will be set labeling it as deleted, but the contract remains and the funds of that contract remain. And so, uh, what we fixed, basically for those post-creation self-destruct events, we were actually throwing an error if you set the beneficiary address to be that of the smart contract. And in the pre-Cancun world, that was compliant and made sense. But post-Cancun, that operation should be allowed because the contract isn't actually being deleted. And so we made that change for compliance.
Yeah, that sounds great. Um, so that's a quick update on both release 60 and 61. Um, as always, if you want to learn more information about these new features and capabilities, please go to our website, hedera.com, or to our docs site, docs.hedera.com, to learn more. I want to thank Mark so much for your time today. Any parting words?
No, a pleasure as always, Keith, and really excited to have these new features on the network.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.